Play.
Hello, welcome to the ATP Weekly. We are back. We are back with a bang. We're going to talk about Rome. We're going to talk about what all the results of Rome mean in regards to Roland Garros. As you know, this is a series that has been going on for quite a while now, and it's probably going to be up as long as the clay season is over, is going, maybe also along with the grass season. I know you love it. Mario is my co-host. The very usual team is here today. Mario, how are you today? And yeah, just any maybe general thoughts to start with when it comes to Rome on the ATP side, of course, because that's what we're doing here. By the way, if you want to listen to anything about the WTA, Nick is going to have his WTA weekly show a bit later in the day.
No, yeah, I think that it would be right, first of all, today to start talking with the winner, because as soon as the clay season began, probably he's not the one usually you talk the most about, but he's a winner in Rome, first Masters on clay and sixth Masters in career, which is a number which is growing quite a bit, because six Masters is no joke. And not only about Rome, because this title means also that he's having a fantastic season. After the disappointment in Australia, he's had a fantastic consistency, because the three titles back to back, when we were talking in February about Rotterdam, Doha, and Dubai, and then he backed up with a final in Indian Wells, and then the big title in Miami, and quarterfinalist in Monte Carlo, fourth round in Madrid. Not a fantastic result, but still 2 matches won, and now a title in Rome. He's first in the race with almost 1,000 points more than the second place. And that means that he's having a very, very, very consistent season. In fact, 4 months ago, he was world number 12, and now he's back in the top 2, where he also was less than 9 months ago, because in less than 9 months, he's been number 1, and then number 12, and now he's number 2 in the world. But credit to him also, because he hasn't had an easy path to this title, because beating Tsitsipas, Rune, but also Zverev in fourth round, which is a former champion and also finalist the year later in this tournament. So he always had good results in this event, regardless of his current form. But also having to play in the first 2 rounds, Ruusuvuori and Zapata Miralles is not very, very easy. So he really had, I think, also not an easy path at all to the title, and he's been pretty impressive also in the last 2 matches, especially in the important moments, playing very, very well with the forehand. Nothing to say. It's been a very, very important week for him also, because it's also been important, in my opinion, for all the talks about his career, because having also able to win a title, and especially a big one, also on clay, is of course a step forward to be able for us to tell that even if we know that he is a player that has a clear favorite surface, he's able to get a big title, even in a not 100% comfort zone.
Yeah, and you mentioned all these titles that he was getting earlier, Miami title, Indian Wells final, and of course the 3 consecutive ones. And I remember us thinking like, okay, that's great for him, of course, but like, how much momentum is he going to lose throughout the clay season? And will that impact him later on in theoretically the more important moments of the year for him. So basically, the U.S. Open, the North American hardcourt swing, maybe Wimbledon. We'll see. And looks like he's not gonna lose anything, right? Basically, he's already had 10 wins in 3 events on clay, which of course is a pace that he was never really on the dirt in his career. Besides the early days when he was playing on the ITF tour. Clearly, the movement is getting like a lot more comfortable for him on clay because even though he's such an excellent defender, in the past maybe he couldn't necessarily get some of the little details of clay court movement, like of course predominantly the slides. Right, he's getting there. There's also been a lot of talk about the new strings that he got from Technifiber, and apparently they allow him to hit with some supreme weight of shot compared to what he was doing. Of course, that is kind of visible also on the naked eye, that he's able to adjust his technique a little bit, hit a bit more heavier from the forehand, something that you really need to do on clay in order to be relevant, and why most of these flat hitters generally tend to struggle. And for Medvedev, most of the years it's been a struggle on clay at tour level at least. And this is just so important, of course. As you said, 1,000 points ahead of anyone in the ATP race. Another really important ranking change here is that he also made the top two just before the French Open, right? So he's
Yeah.
guaranteed to avoid Alcaraz before the final. He also has a 50% chance to avoid Djokovic before before the final then. And a 50% chance to be on his trial, like on the path to meet him in the semis. So this is really huge because we've basically got a 50% chance that Djokovic and Alcaraz, the main two favorites, won't be in Medvedev's half, and Alcaraz certainly won't be in Medvedev's half. So yeah, suddenly he just emerges as a contender for Paris, and it's not like he did not play well there in the past,
Yeah, in
although
fact, the
maybe
last two
in
seasons.
some like in some individual matches, right? I mean, he also
Yeah,
had that loss to Cilic, of course, where he was just unable to problem solve it all. He also had that one to Tsitsipas, which wasn't competitive, but still, it's definitely so huge for him. And I actually remembered just a couple of days ago that when we were in Bonn in January, we were talking about. Like who is in our minds. I think it was with maybe Jack, and we were talking about who is the most likely to finish in the top four in the year-end rankings. And I remember both of us saying Medvedev, like was among them. And I remember John was really laughing hard when he heard it. I'm not saying it's like a premium prediction or something. Of course, Medvedev was in a really tough spot back then. And this is maybe something you mentioned, that he went from number one, number 12, then to number one. Well, in the race, but not yet. But very possible that he will be there soon. And this is something that usually maybe you get when someone is injured, not necessarily just without a reason seemingly. But yeah, he's back. He's absolutely insane this year. 39-5,
yeah.
which is
Yeah,
just
talking
yeah.
about his previous season, in terms of number of wins, I checked, and the best one till Rome was 25 in the 2019.
Mhm.
When he had good runs in Monte Carlo and Barcelona, he ended the Rome Masters with the 25 wins, and it was the best one in talking about that so far. And this year he has 13 more wins. Also because he needed a bit of confidence, and so he played those events back to back in February. But also he would have had probably the previous years he had those wins in the Australian Open usually. Well, this year hasn't been the case. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. Also because he played very well in on hard court in Middle Asia. He played well in North America, in California, in Indian Wells and Miami, and then he brought his form in Rome on clay. So it's been, yeah, so far. I mean, except for that Australian Open with that disappointment, even if we can also talk about that probably avoiding Korda, which was one of the best 7-8 players in that moment regarding the form. probably a quarterfinal. He could have even done it, even without today's confidence. So yes, so far he had fantastic results. It can happen in one Grand Slam to not play well. So I have really nothing bad to say about his season. He's number one in the race, so I don't think that we can we can make some kind of negative comments so far about this 2023.
Yeah, one of the biggest fans of Talking Tennis, usually in the chat here, is Matthew, who a couple of days ago asked us this question. Like, if it was, I think, if Medvedev beats Tsitsipas, is he a top four favorite for the French? Of course, since then, plenty of things have happened. Like Medvedev beat Tsitsipas, but not only that, he also won Rome and beat Rune in the final. So, my question to you now, right now, Mario, is like, where exactly does Medvedev stand in that sort of pantheon of French Open favorites? Is he, the third one behind Alcaraz and Djokovic? There are definitely people who would say that. Is he still, pretty much distantly behind guys like Rune and Tsitsipas? Where do you see him right now?
Yeah, more than a ranking, I prefer like doing some first tier and second tier.
Okay.
Yeah, because for me it's just sometimes too difficult to say third, fourth place, because at some point for me it becomes like a really slight difference. Yeah, what to say? Of course, I think that he's not in. I mean, I think that he's not in the very, very top tier, which is only the one of Alcaraz and Djokovic for different reasons. But of course, I still have both of them and only them in the very top tier for Roland Garros. But if the Medvedev we saw shows up in the French Open, and of course it will depend on the draw, but also considering that he has gained that number 2 seed. For me, I remember that I was a bit skeptical when you told me, because I was in that moment when there was that question.
Yeah, yeah.
But these two wins were I thought that he could have won these two matches in Rome, but these two wins have still show me something that probably I wasn't really expecting. And so at this point, I would say why not to put in that second tier with guys like Rune and Tsitsipas, because for example, talking about a physical point of view, Medvedev seems a bit readier than Rune from that point of view, in my opinion, in a Grand Slam best of 5. Even for what we have seen in this clay event, when he's been always a little bit struggling in the later rounds, also in Munich when he won against Van de Zandschulp. So probably the technical point of view and the adaptability of his tennis, we would make me prefer Rune's chances, but there are also physical reasons that probably give Daniil a little bit of an edge, and so probably it's basically the same at this point. I don't know, but I would say that probably given what I saw, I can put him in the second tier among those guys, and with those guys I'm meaning Tsitsipas and Rune, I think, because for what I see in the clay season would be a surprise for me if I mean the draw can open up at this point for someone, but I still say that these 5 are the guys I trust the most for the French Open.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone, it's gonna be the dot 5 right now. I mean, it's just super clear,
For
right?
what we saw.
How do you place them? That's a completely different thing. I mean, of course, I have Alcaraz and Djokovic with a distant edge over everyone else. I actually have Alcaraz with an edge over Djokovic as well, but that's I guess something else. But when it comes to Medvedev, Rune, yeah, they do have their concerns. Rune, it's clearly more the fitness rather than anything else. You're right that I mean, even this clay season, which has been excellent for him, but he's had so many tight matches. He's had so many moments when he was struggling. Even some of these, he won. Van de Zandschulp, Bublik in Madrid. There he wasn't struggling physically, but still, it was a tight match that you turn some of these around. Some of these maybe become losses, and then we're not talking about such a great clay season. So definitely, there's a big edge between Alcaraz, Djokovic, and the other guys for me in terms of how certain I am that they're gonna reach a deep stage of the event. Rune, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, they can all bomb out in the second round, and it's not like no one would bat an eye or something, but certainly it wouldn't be like extremely shocking if they run into some tough opponents. So definitely they have to be like in the second tier. I'm absolutely fine in with putting Medvedev, Rune, and Tsitsipas in the same tier right now. Although there is like a bit of a hot take in me that I've that I've discovered a couple of days ago that
Yeah,
I kinda cannot see. We can actually move on to this player. It's not the finalist, but let's move on to this guy, Stefanos Tsitsipas. I kinda cannot see him winning this event.
same, to be
I
honest.
am really struggling with this because
Yeah,
Rune, like
same.
Rune, if he gets to the semis, finals, I can totally see him winning the whole thing. Medvedev just as well, but Tsitsipas, and especially after Rome, I think it was so crucial for him to get that win over Medvedev, both from like a confidence perspective, but also, yeah, maybe to just prove again that he is able to push through guys like this. Medvedev on clay, I know he's better, but Tsitsipas, it was always like Roland Garros was his best chance at a slam. That was where he led Djokovic, of course, in the final. His ATP 1000 events titles came on clay. That this is supposed to be his chance. And yet, if I think about him potentially playing, I don't know, Medvedev or Rune in the semis, and then let's say Alcaraz or Djokovic in the final, um, who cares what the draw will look like? And I mean, who cares? Who knows what the draw will look like? And let's say that's the reality. I just cannot see him beating both guys.
To be honest, I agree with you. We I was yeah, I think that he's in the talk of his because he on clay he's always had some deep runs here and there. He's been at least a finalist, I think, in all the important clay events, because Madrid, Rome, yeah, he's been in the finals of this event. But yeah, you're right. I I have some kind of doubts, especially this year. But um, I think that, for example, in a very very big match, Medvedev is more able to perform in an important way in the important moments, and also in that match. I mean, on clay, for his characteristics, Tsitsipas, for his weapons, and Tsitsipas should be um, probably better than Medvedev. But then when they play each other, the story can be different, because Medvedev has shown in Rome that he's able to also to bring something else to the table, at least in this period, in his form, to bring some new things to the match, and to, yeah, to do some important damage to Tsitsipas' game. Also because Tsitsipas' performance has been, in my opinion, underwhelming in the semifinal. I was expecting much more. I don't know if I was expecting much more, but I mean, I know that he can do better than this. And yeah, he's not coming at the French Open with a super high confidence. As I told you, I don't remember if last week or in the other live, I thought that this event would have been very important for him, and I don't think that he got what he needed, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he kind of played like a guy for whom this event is really important, and that's not a good thing. Like he played like a guy who is feeling it, who is feeling the pressure of knowing that he has to do well in this event. And yeah, I mean, it feels weird to say this about a guy who just reached the Australian Open finals, but I am certainly starting to think like maybe Tsitsipas's time has sort of past already. Like him winning a slam was always a possibility at Roland Garros. It felt like it definitely was among the top contenders in 2021, 2022. Well, before of course losing to Rune in
Yeah,
2022, but with the sort of
yeah.
draw that he had, everyone had him in the final again.
Yeah, of course. Also
And
having the final,
mhm,
he was also last year in the Rome final. It was
yeah,
a little bit different to be in the Rome final and lose against a guy who, like Djokovic, with that record in Rome. It's fine in my opinion.
yeah,
This
and
year,
he
no, yes, I was saying, and also he had a more consistent clay season because he was in the he won
he won
Monte
Monte
Carlo.
Carlo. Yeah,
He was in the semis in Madrid. He was he lost to Alcaraz in the quarters in Barcelona, but still he had a pretty consistent clay season. This year, this hasn't really been the case because the loss with Fritz in Monte Carlo was very disappointing. Yeah, I mean, Struff, okay, reached the final in Madrid, but still for being Tsitsipas, this has been an underwhelming clay season. And
yeah.
probably he's in the time in which he needs to think about some changes, just like Medvedev did. I'm not talking about the strings and the shoes, but as well as Medvedev at some point of his career understood that he was in the need of some changes. Probably Tsitsipas has to try to think the same.
Yeah, I kind of doubt his ability to keep up with like the Rune Alcaraz Sinner generation, frankly. Which is why I kind of tend to think that maybe 2022 was his was his best chance. He had a perfect draw there with all the guys like Alcaraz, Zverev, Nadal, Djokovic, all of them in the top half. Him just sitting in the bottom. Him just sitting in the bottom with Rude, with Rublev, Cilic. It seemed like a phenomenal opportunity. And yeah, right now it just feels like guys like Alcaraz, Sinner, Rune, they can just escape him very quickly, and it could be worrisome. Of course, the guy just, as I said, the guy finished runner-up at the last slam, so you cannot really be overly critical
Yeah,
yet.
no.
John was also asking the chat, doesn't Sinner get in that second tier? Nah.
According to me, not on clay.
Yeah,
If
I would
if it
back
was the
that.
U.S. Open, for me, we could have argued about that.
I am the I am the guy who always underestimates him, right? I
You
still
know,
think that
I don't
the
think that he's. But I mean, if for example Indian Wells and Miami, and then for example the U.S. Open, I can tell you, yes, he's in that second tier.
yeah,
But in my
if it was
opinion,
like happening directly after, sure,
but
yeah,
in my opinion, clay is the surface. He had some good results so far in his career, even if not exceptional ones. Still beat, for example, once Alcaraz on clay, even if it wasn't a big event. But I think that his tennis on clay loses a little bit of his. Uh, I don't really know the word, but I'm sure you have under, understood me. I can help me. Loses a bit of his fire.
okay.
Uh,
No, I mean
I think
we
that,
get what you mean. We get what you mean. Yeah, explosiveness. I don't know,
yeah, exactly. That's
something
what
like
I
that.
was
Yeah.
meaning.
Yeah, I totally get that. I would also say that that on clay he's not among that second tier. In fact, I think he's very distant right now from these guys. On just for Roland Garros chances, yeah, it could be very different when we reach another big event. Mm-hmm.
But if I can, I still think that he's even if he's not in that second tier, in my opinion, he's one of the guys that if the draws opens up, I am quite confident that then he's able to at least to win the winnable matches. Yeah, I know that probably he's lost to Cerundolo in Rome.
I guess that's what Sean just said in the
Yeah,
chat, right?
I read his
Yeah.
message, and I think
Yeah.
that yeah, in those kind of matches he's pretty consistent. So if somehow the draws, like for example last year was, he could have he can make something good, but I think that he needs something good about the draw. And in my opinion, as for the side of the draw, for him is better the Alcaraz side than the Djokovic one. I don't know, but
provided
in
Djokovic
terms of
gets
the
there.
matchup, I probably also the Medvedev's one probably it's nightmare
Oh,
for
yeah.
him. I don't know if on
Oh,
clay
yeah.
can change something, but given that Medvedev he's doing well on clay, probably he needs to avoid him, especially in the
Yeah.
quarterfinal.
I guess we kind of touched on Holger Rune already, but we should probably talk about him a bit more as well. He beat Djokovic. Ruud was a slight favorite ahead of the final with Medvedev. Did not beat him like he did in Monte Carlo, which maybe kind of just poses the question again of how this match in Monaco or in France next to Monaco would have looked if Medvedev wasn't coming off that thriller against Zverev. But still, certainly, just yet another great clay result this year that really makes us certain that he is in contention for that title, right? And just compared to someone like Tsitsipas, I do trust that if he gets to the biggest stages, he will actually have his chances against these guys. And of course,
I
right
think so.
now, after that final, he is at number 6 in the ATP rankings, which does not really change anything. He is still
Yeah.
25%. He has a 25% chance to have Alcaraz, Medvedev, Djokovic, or Ruud in his quarter.
Yeah. I mean, we should also mention that even if we have the comparison with Alcaraz, his results are great for his age. So losing these two finals, it's not that I'm drawing conclusions or something like that. So I think that for now we can talk like that it's been another very consistent result in Rome, a tournament in which he never played before. So finally, we could say that the two finalists were at 0 wins in Rome before before this year. But no, talking seriously, yeah, I think that it's been a good result, and I think that he is a guy who has some kind of chance, of course, because I mean, if not him, who can have some sort of chance? I mean, if we
Yeah.
want to open to open the speech about 5-6 guys, he's definitely one of them. So no.
Yeah, when
Nothing
John
more than
said
what you
something
said.
in the chat earlier about like 35% each for Alcaraz, Djokovic in the field. When I think of this 30% for the field, I'm mostly thinking of Rune and Medvedev right now. So I think anyone, honestly, outside of these four would already be like a pretty massive upset. And I mean, you're perfectly right that Rune is a freak of nature himself as well, and like comparing him to Alcaraz is natural because they are from the same birth age. They of course have come. Their rises have been incredibly rapid, but you know it's not like he isn't a freak either. Anyway, there was also Casper Ruud in the semifinals. Was that in any way a surprise to you? What do you think this run means for Casper ahead of Roland Garros, where of course he's defending the runner-up points? And I think he's
Uh,
also playing next week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's playing next week.
I mean, this week already, but yeah,
Yeah, this
Lyon
week.
or
You're right.
he's in Geneva, right? He's in Geneva,
Yeah,
Geneva, whatever.
yeah. No, I mean, good tournament for him. He beat some consistent consistent players to reach that semifinals, because it's clearly an improvement, because back wins against um, the guy he beat, probably it wouldn't have happened some weeks ago, or it hasn't happened before Rome in this clay season. So it's been, in my opinion, a very good 2 weeks. He played a fantastic first part of the match against Rune, because his tennis were very okay, and then something happened in the end. But in terms of the signs I would have liked to see, I saw what I wanted to see. In terms of some clear improvements compared to the first part of the clay season, at least considering the main event. I mean, he won necessarily, but considering Monte Carlo and Madrid, this has been a total other story for him. So I'm kind of okay with the fact that I saw what I wanted to see from him.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to say that he just had a bit of a cakewalk to the semis, because he did, especially compared to all the other semifinalists, where Rune, has to play Djokovic, and Medvedev maybe has Hanfman, but still Zverev, Zapata Miralles earlier, and of course Tsitsipas. Maybe Tsitsipas was kind of comparable with the fact that he also didn't really have to struggle with anyone along the way. But yeah, in the semis, I think Ruud for like a set and a half was really excellent, and this was probably his one of his best matches in a while. So heavy on the forehand as he usually is, but just really making being able to stay on top of the rallies against Rune, which is not that easy to do. And honestly, I mean, 7-6 4-2 up, he very easily could have been in the final here, which from his perspective, of course, it isn't great that he got there, that he didn't get there eventually, but certainly it's a step forward. It is a pretty massive step forward. He just sort of made Rune have to go for broke in that second set, and when it worked for the Dane, his level just disappeared in the third. Uh, as we all know, I mean, defending that final at the French will be so tough. He is a bit fortunate to be at the number 4 seed, because if Tsitsipas beat Medvedev, he wouldn't be. And that at least gives him the ability to avoid Alcaraz Djokovic until the semis. So maybe, well, actually, he can't play even. Djokovic won't even be in his half, right? So it does give him the chance
Yeah, Djokovic is
to
avoided till the final in
yeah,
case.
and Alcaraz or Medvedev before the semis. So maybe something like in Rome happens, Maybe he gets a little bit of a smoother draw compared to the other guys, and maybe he's able to get into the semi. But again, if he gets there, winning the title seems a little out of his reach, but certainly a step forward after what's been a bit of a disastrous run so far in 2023. And I think he was also in the semis in Rome last year, right?
And
Then
indeed,
of course he had like a perfect draw at the French, but
the last three times he played in Rome, he's been in the semis.
oh yeah, because he did not play in 2021, right? Um, Other guys we need to mention, obviously Novak Djokovic, his first event since Belgrade. Well, Banja Luka, sorry, I keep saying Belgrade, even though they moved this year. And well, he won 3 matches. He beat Echeverry, Dimitrov, Nori, and then lost to Holger Rune in the quarters. Yeah, what did you think of his performance, and where does it put him ahead of Paris as well?
Mm, I mean, still beating the three guys he beat means that under a certain level you aren't under a certain level. So it's kind of okay considering the Monte Carlo and Bagnaluca concerts. Against Rune, he didn't play a good match, to be honest, but um, uh, still in some parts of the match, he kind of showed that he something was starting working a bit better. And the best of five, we know that is totally another thing. He also won the last two slams in which he was in. So yeah, I don't know how much it can mean um, about the French Open, because we are used to watch these guys suddenly picking in slams. So since I'm not watching him not going well in the slam, I'm still having him in, yeah, probably Roland Garros has always been a bit of a struggle for him, but in the later rounds, I think, because he's also been pretty consistent in the first rounds in the events. In fact, I think that he's the slam in which he has most quarterfinals. Yeah, I still think that he's for what we know he's capable to do in Grand Slams. I think that he's of course the among the top two favorites, probably in at the second place, because we already watched Alcaraz having strong results on clay this year, and so probably this makes the biggest difference between the two. But I'm still sure that if he gets to the quarters, it means that he's okay to have his chances to win the title.
Yeah, I don't think this was like a poor event for Djokovic, but it definitely wasn't what he was hoping for. But still, getting 4 matches in is a plus. Honestly, going out to Rune in the quarters is more or less what I expected. But yeah, I just maybe thought that he would play a better match in that quarterfinal, and then lose or maybe win in a thriller or something. But yeah, it's not about sign ahead of Ron Garros. It's not quite enough for sure to put him, for me at least, to put him over Alcaraz. But it's okay-ish. It's just okay, so that you keep him more or less at the same level as Alcaraz in that first tier that we were mentioning, and not he's definitely not close to falling out of that first tier of contenders. And that run in Rome is a big part of that, because, well, it proved that he probably will be ready for Roland Garros. In this, how ready will he be? That's something we will find out. But provided he avoids some nightmare draws in the first two 3 rounds, definitely he can also ease his way into the event, and should be fine probably in the long run. We should also probably talk about Yannick Hanfmann, right? He made the quarterfinals as a qualifier. His fourth run already this year as a qualifier. His qualifying record is actually not as perfect as Jan Lennart Struff's, because he has already played, I think, 10 ATP Tour events this year, starting from the qualifying draw, and made it 6 times. But still, the consistency of how deep he goes in these, like Santiago, he was a qualifier there and he made the quarters. Houston, he made the semis from the qualifying. Then, of course, Madrid, he made the third round from the qualifying. And the biggest one of them here, Rome, quarterfinals from the qualifying, and 2 top 10 wins along the way, which really is an insane feat. And at the age of 31, he is currently like about 35th in the live ATP race. Absolutely set to like smash his career high ranking. Previously, he hadn't even come close. He hadn't even come close to that. Of course, his real like official ATP ranking is not 35ish right now, but he is 64th actually. But
Mhm.
that kind of gives you the idea of how good his results have been and what he can still achieve this year if he keeps this up.
Yeah, I only need you to remember me if he's in the qualis draw on the.
Qualis, yeah,
Yeah,
second
yeah,
seed in the
he's the
qualis,
second
yes.
seed. Okay, yeah. So I watched well the draw. Yeah. No, of course, credit to him first of all, because reaching a Masters quarterfinal with 4 wins in the main draw, because it's not like Rome 2022, 2021 in the previous editions. So 4 wins, only talking about the main draw to get there, especially 2 top 10 wins, and especially the one above Rublev, because in Rome Rublev never performed really well, but having won the Monte Carlo title and beating him is of course important for him. And he's showing on clay. I think that we always knew that he was able to play some very good tennis. I remember him doing doing nice things here and there on clay, having some good matches. And the Rome path also was very difficult. So super credit to him to having reached the quarters. Then against Medvedev, he hasn't really been able to repeat what he was doing in the previous rounds. But first of all, he of course not easy after all the tight matches, because also against Cecchinato the match was pretty tight, and the Rublev one also was very intense. And also watching what Medvedev did also in the semis and in the final, even score makes some kind of sense. So I'm very interesting to watching, and to watching first in the Roland Garros qualis, because we have this I don't want to given the fact that the entry list was closed a little bit long, we have some players that shouldn't really been in the qualis draw, like Hanfman or Osorio, talking about the girls. But this is what it is, and sometimes we also have seen some surprises. For example, thinking about Noskova in the Australian Open,
Noskova and Parks, right? Both of them were
Noskova and
like
Parks.
60-ish in the rankings, and
especially
both
Noskova, because she had the great run in Adelaide basically the week before, and then she went out in the quali. So it's not given that you are going to bring the form into the slam qualis, which are we know well, very a big test to pass. So I'm very interesting to see. And of course, having this new this ranking which is higher than before, will avoid him to play qualis in some events, and which is going to make some difference in talking about physically when you're going to the later round. Because talking about the quarters against Medvedev, he was the underdog, and he probably and most definitely lost that match anyway. But he had 3 more matches played than Medvedev, having played the qualis and then the first round, which seats a void in Masters events. So it can make and I think it makes a difference in the end. So it's of course always important to have a higher ranking. And clay is it's not ending, because 64 he will play probably also some, and then clay is back on the ATP tour after Wimbledon also. Let's see. Also, I have to be honest that I don't really remember about grass, his history on grass.
he basically never done much. He's never done much
Yeah.
on harder grass, which kind of doesn't make sense with his game. But I don't know. Maybe it's because
we
of the
should
kick serve.
see this year, because definitely with that ranking he should he will be in the Wimbledon main
Draw,
entry
yeah.
list. He will be also, I think, at least in qualis or of some, if he wants to, some events. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, he's never really done much outside of clay, which is kind of weird. But of course, as you said, there's that post Wimbledon clay swing where he's always been amazing. To reach the finals in Kitzbühel and Gstaad. So yeah, just maintain that form, and some good things will definitely come there on altitude clay. Anyway, maybe let's well, when did we meet last time? Is my question. Did we already talk about Maroshan beating Alcaraz? I don't think so, right? So
no,
that's
because you were talking about how a threat he could have been.
okay. So that's when we met. So like a day before. So yeah, we have to talk about this. The Maroshan over Karas upset. What did you think of it? And also, does that change your perception of Alcaraz ahead of the French in any way?
No. No, no, no. I'm not the kind of guy which sees one loss and thinks about the disaster.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a match that, especially in math terms, talking about the ranking of the players, is going to be in the statistics history. Um, but I don't think that it's a disaster. He also Marochan played a very very good match, and this must be said because it's not always that you lost the match. You lost, and the other guy played a fantastic match, and it's also nice to talk about him and what he did to put you into a difficult situation. Of course, coming to the Madrid title can also in some have some kind of impact because of the change of the conditions, and the first match wasn't a very big test for him to use that to adapt maybe very well to the new Rome conditions. But Maroshan played a very good match, has entertained, I think, everyone who has watched him in the tournament, and so talking about Alcaraz, in my opinion, I'm not taking anything from this. Especially, maybe we can talk about some tactical things that happened in the match, and but talking about the big picture, in my opinion, it's the same as before Rome. This is my opinion. And of course, great job to Maroshan, who has also already won his first round of qualis in Paris. And so, I mean, for what we saw in Rome, I would like to have him also in the Roland Garros main draw.
Yeah, he's got an absolute cakewalk in the Roland Garros quality draw, but the problem is that he had an MTO today against Litu and was like really struggling towards the end. So yeah, we'll see about that, how that goes. That's probably going to be more important than actual like his actual level, because even if he's such an inconsistent player, he could really like play at a 50% and qualify, I think here. But yeah, it also doesn't change anything for me. We were talking about like Alcaraz being fine with an early loss in Rome. We didn't really see an opponent who could do it in the Rome draw, but that was of course because Maroshan sort of came in later as a qualifier. At the beginning, we didn't have him in the draw, and also Maroshan was not guaranteed to beat Mutel Hechka, in his main draw debut, so it wasn't like he was an immediate threat to Alcaraz. Someone a couple of days ago actually asked me like, what did Maroshan do to trouble Alcaraz, and like what did he change in his usual tactics? And I mean, the answer is pretty much nothing, right? I mean, it just so happens that what Maroshan wants to do on the court matches up pretty well against Carlos, and of course, on the day he was just absurd. It's not like he plays 50 drop shots and makes 48 of them every single day, and it's not like he is able to maintain this consistency of the early ball striking every single day. On this particular day, in this particular match, he was able to do that. Um, And yeah, for me, it doesn't change anything, but there is that little maybe concern of Alcaraz playing, yeah, guys like that who really rush him. So Struff, Rusevori, Maroshan, they're all fairly similar. Of course, they all like have some very distinct traits, and you wouldn't really get these drop shots from Struff or Rusevori. You wouldn't get the serve and volleying of Struff against with Rusevori or Maroshan. You're not gonna get this sort of power baselining style from Maroshan and Struff like you get from Rusevori, but the basis on how they try to tackle Alcaraz is more or less the same.
Mm,
And it is a bit of a concern. Definitely, what is concerning is how the Spaniard was reacting to it. Like his response was mostly to play their game. There's this one point that encapsulates this perfectly, I think, when in the tiebreaker, the second set tiebreaker against Maroshan, Alcaraz was 4-3 up, hit a good serve, and then just proceeds to go for a drop shot that he nets. And the whole point, I'm just like sitting there and screaming, why on earth would you do that? It's basically a bit senseless. You don't need to end a point on the first strike against a guy like that. If you're gonna be ahead in the point, you're still most very likely to win it. Of course, it's easy to say that, and then I don't know, at 5-all in the second set with Maroshan and Alcaraz, there was this point when Alcaraz played it perfectly, and then suddenly a huge backhand down the line counter comes back. The shot was basically non-existent for Maroshan up until that point of the match, and yet suddenly he finds it, and like the whole point which Alcaraz played out perfectly is he still loses it. So it's easy to say that, but definitely that sort of there are some characteristics traits that are a lot more dangerous to Alcaraz. Now, does that matter for the French? I wouldn't really say so, because over the course of the best of five format, it's going to be a lot tougher to do it. Maintaining that consistency and redlining your game over three sets at least, it's just going to be much tougher than it is in an event like this. Of course, there's also the matter of maybe some physical and mental fatigue for Alcaraz, which definitely would make you like be less smart about what you're doing on the court. So if he won Barcelona, Madrid, it doesn't matter. If he loses to Rusuvuori in Madrid and then he loses to Maroshan in Rome,
yeah,
that's
of
an
course,
issue. But
of
that's not
course.
what happened. So it was very close to this. But maybe if he loses early in Madrid, then he is more ready for Rome. So there's other factors
Yeah,
here.
of
But
course.
yeah, it also doesn't change anything for me. Maroshan or a player like Maroshan probably isn't going to beat Alcaraz at Roland Garros, and
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
is going to have a smaller chance than in Rome.
it's also the
Hmm.
reason why you struggle. The same speech we are making it for Djokovic when we are saying that beating in best of five, it's definitely more difficult than doing it in best of three. But even in the quarters against Rune, we saw that as soon as Rune dropped his level just a little bit, and Djokovic was in some way still able to get in the match, and he took the second set. So it's what happens in best of five matches to beat these guys. Of course, it's more difficult because Maroshan has to play another set like that, and we know that it's not easy at all. That's also why we have some more surprises in Masters events than in Grand Slams usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean was also asking, what do you think Rublev has improved this year? I mean, frankly, not much. Like the stars kind of aligned for this title, but is he really a better player than 2022, 2021? I don't think so.
In my opinion, a bit more mature.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, in like some mental composure type of things, yeah, sure.
this is still something that has made a little bit of a difference this year to make
Yeah,
his results improve a little bit, and also make him
one
to.
result improve, right? Because like the rest has been just like
Yeah, I
usual.
mean,
It's one result. It's one result basically.
but
We
it makes some difference, of course, in my opinion, because his step was that one, to be able to use his chances to win a big title, and he did also uh, in a quite I don't know. He was down in that third set, and I mean, that's the thing that I think he has improved the most. Some mental composure on court, and he seems more mature to to perform better, even when things are not really um, going as he wants, at least in some kind of matches. After that, I kind of agree with you that more or less he is the same player, but if he has to play a Roland Garros quarterfinal this year, I mean, it depends on the opponent, but probably I don't know if he wins that super tiebreak against Cilic, but at least mentally, probably for what we saw recently, is going to do just a little bit better than he did in 2022, maybe. But let's see.
Yeah, and is there anyone else in the Rome draw that you want to mention?
Uh, um, well, let me think. We had a pretty more regular tournament in terms of the players who got into the later
Yeah,
stages. Comparing to Madrid,
sure. The unique conditions in Madrid will do that to you, right? And in Rome, it's
yeah,
more
yeah. Usually
more
there's
of a usual thing.
Monte
Yeah,
Carlo. It's because it comes early in the
right
clay
after.
season.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
usually some player are not ready, and Madrid the condition can make the difference. Rome is usually, I mean, but it's also been a very close event in terms of who won it, because 16 out of the last 18 were won by Djokovic and Nadal. So also for Medvedev, this is also, I mean, this year was easy that this thing would have happened, but still making his name into that golden list is pretty huge. I think that Medvedev is, of course, the biggest story uh, of this event, considering everything we saw and we said about him and Clay, and we saw in the last years, and so it's been nice to watch this story in this event, in my opinion.
Yeah, wanna maybe just talk. I mean, usually we just focus on the recaps here, but maybe we could just talk for like 2 minutes about Geneva and Lyon and like what are we expecting there. Um, don't know where you want to start from. Which one of them? Maybe which one of them is more attractive to you this week, more appealing?
Mm, yeah, I mean, in terms of mm, it can be, for example, I don't know, interesting how Sim can perform, given that we are not really watching him a lot recently. So he's a good name that we can watch a little bit to understand uh, how his form, if his form is kind of improved at least a little bit, and comparing to the last event. And yeah, of course, yeah, there's Zverev in Geneva, I saw. uh, he a good run for him can be important, even if in a 250 event, given the fact that he hasn't made one in a long time. So I think that um, it's an opportunity for him to gain some confidence and some wins, if he's able to improve his level. Also, because we don't have to forget that he's defending the semi in Paris, which is not going to be easy at all, and is pretty much a lot of his ranking um, depends from that semi. Because after that one last year, he hasn't played anymore. So if he wants to avoid um, a big drop, he needs to have a nice result. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't find particularly attractive the events played just before the slam usually, but there are some kind of things to watch, of course. Uh, Let's see.
Yeah, I honestly have not looked at the the draws that much, but yeah, Casper Ruud playing Geneva, kind of weird after the Rome semi. I don't know if he really needs it, but of course he is among the main favorites to get there. Jari, if he plays him in the quarters, that could be rough. I think Jari had a run in Geneva already, right? Like a couple of years ago, he was in the final maybe or won it. I trying to
I
find that
mean,
quickly. Yeah, was in the final. Hmm?
no, yeah, okay, no, yeah, because yeah, talking about the title, Rude is two-time. He won the last two editions, right?
No, I
Uh,
was talking about Jari because he's playing in the quarters. He's playing him in the quarters, and
yeah,
Jari had a
Jari did
final.
well in did well in
Yeah, he had
Geneva
a final in
before.
2019, and of course, pretty fast clay conditions. So I don't know if it's really the perfect warm up. Lyon is also not the perfect warm up, I think, conditions wise for Roland Garros. But that's also why a lot of players who are seriously thinking of like clinching the title aren't really gonna play it. Of course, in the qualifying draws, there's like a big mess usually for this event because these events because all the guys ranked between 100 and 230 are in Roland Garros qualifying,
Yeah,
so that's pretty insane usually too. Yeah, and just looking at the draw, like if Jari cannot beat Root, then Root has a very nice one, nice opportunity here. Of course, you mentioned Zverev, probably a much bigger event for him than it was in the past because usually he just had so much more momentum going into Roland Garros. Of course, soon enough, these moments when he like in the second half of the year, he's not defending anything. So ranking wise, his situation is going to improve. But currently, as things stand, let's imagine he loses in the opening round at Roland Garros, and he would be down to about 70-ish in the ATP rankings. So
yeah. So
a very big hit for sure. And yeah, Lyon, I guess the main story would be, as you said, Felix Auger-Aliassime. We were advocating for him to take a wild card, to try to take a wild card to Geneva or Lyon. Apparently he did, and clearly he needs it right now.
yeah, of course.
Otherwise, maybe we're gonna get some random 250 winners, as we usually get in these weeks. I am looking at this draw, and I'm really sensing a good run from Arthur Fils. Like the top
Hmm.
half of this draw is really soft.
Yeah, yeah.
So mark my words.
The bottom half should be, at least for what we saw recently, should be more. Um, I mean, the most competitive one.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, lots of
we have
players in the top
Kecmanovic,
who are
Cerundolo,
out of
Draper
form
can play
or
well. Nori is pretty solid usually.
yeah, he
Mm,
was also doing some. He won Lyon right last year or maybe 2 years
last year,
ago.
last
Last
year,
year,
yeah,
yeah, over like the Minor or right? I think so. Oh, and
yeah,
he no sorry Molchan, but
yeah.
he
By the way,
also
uh,
oh exactly.
last 2 years, the runner-up in the French Open won one of these two 250 events the week right before, because we had Tsitsipas in 2021 Lyon and
Oh yeah.
Ruud the last year in Geneva, so sometimes can help you.
Yeah,
Mm.
you can use them. I mean, I remember Dominic Thiem as well, playing
Hmm.
like Lyon one year, where everyone was saying, "What the hell is he doing?" He almost lost to someone. I think it might have been Gilles Simon, but I would have to check that. He almost lost to someone in the first round, won the event, and then made the final at the French. So it's not as 2018. No, sorry, Gilles Simon was in the final. He almost lost to Garcia Lopez, but the final was also competitive against Simon. So he was really struggling in Lyon, but he took that much time, he took that momentum into Paris and made the final. So yeah, you can actually use these 250 events, but of course the big stars, Djokovic, Federer,
Yeah,
Nadal, they've never really used that. You're not going to see Alcaraz playing these
yeah,
events,
no, no,
definitely
that's
not.
for sure.
But anyway, I guess that's what we're gonna finish on here, right? I mean, we've gone on for over an
Yeah,
hour, which is what we usually do here, around an hour ish. It's not a plan; it's not fixed. If we were talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
for 2 hours, and there would still be conversation topics
We'll do it
to
during the French
mention.
Open,
Very possible. I mean,
probably.
we has to be back next week, and I
Yeah,
think the Roland Garros main draw starts on Sunday. So it would probably be best to do the ATP Weekly on Saturday. But we're gonna talk shop about it later, just behind closed
will
doors.
receive the update for sure.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna you have to subscribe, you have to hit the notification bell, and then you're gonna know exactly when the ATP Weekly is gonna be, when all the other Talking Tennis streams are happening. As you can see on the screen right now, we are very close to ending that saga of begging for subscribers so that we can get 2,000 of them. It actually is pretty quick, I would say, because I remember there being like 500 away or something like that. So and John says that Saturday would be good. I think that's what we have to do. I think that's what we have to do with the Sunday main draw start. So anyway, we'll probably talk to you guys Saturday. If anything changes, you're also going to know about it from the channel. And thank you, Mario, as usual, for being with me here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys in the comments. Cheers, Sean. And see you in the other show, in the next show, or maybe some other Talking Tennis streams. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.